Welcome back to the Martinliedtke channel. Good to see you again today, guys. Back with a really interesting post today, guys. We're going to be looking at the Capitol building and Capitol Hill. There are some mysteries surrounding these buildings. I think, and I am going to propose that these buildings, these Capitol buildings you see in the States, and if not all the world really, has the same replicating style of civic building or Capitol building. Well, I think that they are a cover, and I think they're from an older world. And I'll show you what I mean. We're going to start here with this image you can see of the dome, of the immense dome of the Capitol building. And you can see there's a statue being fitted on top. So this is in 1863 on completion of the dome, which was one of the biggest things on the mind of apparently Abraham Lincoln. Never mind the American Civil War that has just raged for 4 years. No, get that dome finished. But what is interesting about this dome, it has 900,000 pounds in weight of iron through its structure. That's going on for £1 million in weight inside that dome of iron. And the statue you see the men standing on top of is the Statue of Freedom. That was a £15,000 in weight statue as well. And that was the replacement or the building of the dome in the 1860s. You can see there. Now, in this image, you can see that the White House at the bottom is very much in situ at this at this time, and that the dome it's taken a couple of years to be building, and this is the early stage, but it looks a little bit mottled and it looks a little bit worn even at that stage. And a couple of residents, I guess, taking a look, even though they look superimposed into the photograph. Something quite wrong with that there. I don't know what. Anyway, so this area of Washington, D.C., as you all know, is the District of Columbia, which is approximately about 100 square mile area of non-America. It is the District of Columbia. It's a different entity altogether, where the Republic is housed and the capital. So this area used to be called Rome. Isn't that interesting? Also, other names for Washington before Washington were Alexandria. Alexandria, like the Library of Alexandria, the Library of Congress, and also Federal City. It was called Federal City before it was called Washington, D.C., named after, obviously, George Washington. So, before even the first cornerstone or ceremonial cornerstone was laid, in 1795, the hill it stands on, this hill here, was talked about by settlers as being a natural hill and a natural level. The hill that is called Jenkins Hill. So Jenkins Hill, this hill here, has got a Welsh name. Jenkins is a Welsh name. Anyway, settlers in this area said that there was strange geometry in this area. And not only strange geometry, strange magnetic anomalies have been reported on this hill. And not only that, they say that it's an unnatural elevation, almost as if it's like maybe the top of a pyramid or a much bigger, more ancient structure that is under this Capitol Hill. And even in the official narrative, they will show you there is massive, massive stuff going on under Capitol Hill. Now, this is the first Capitol building by all accounts, guys. They say, it was built in 1795, and then eventually its demise was in 1814 when the English came in the war and burnt it down, apparently. But you can see in the bottom bit here, you got the entrance is on the first level, and then you got these lower level doors, if you like, going actually into the hill itself, which is part of the building, which is incredible. So yeah, the war happened in the 1812 to, war happened. And by 1814, they burnt this, and they also burnt the White House as well. The English, they do things like that. But this is a cover story, this wartime destruction, I think, for a purging, a ritual purging of the technologies of Tartaria. I think these were harmonic buildings, and I think that they were eradicated for their purpose and for the reason that I'm going to talk about now, for the control of America and the world, because government needed to be on this hill, govern the minds, the ments, and it's all about alignments. Okay, specific alignments to align your mind. And they're using the old world grid pattern, which I will explain. So yeah, the building stayed in situ because apparently when it caught fire, there was a torrential downpour of rain, which conveniently outed the fire. But if you have a look here, you can see they clearly got mud flood windows. And this is all that's left of the Capitol building. But as you can see, it's not a photograph, it is a depiction. You can even see lower windows in the center bit where, this bit has been taken out, but it did have colonnades or columns, Roman type columns, apparently in the original there. So it had large copper dome, which the current one hasn't. And you can see that the style is, very classical, but the old world of Tartaria, if you like. And that is the earlier White House. There you can see Capitol building, excuse me. And there you can see the Capitol building in situ. A certain elevation as well, but there it is in the modern day. Now you can see these green rotundas, and you can see the green rotundas there. So they still got some copper domage. All of this bit was added a little bit later. We'll get into that in a moment. So yeah, the alignments of the avenues and all of this was designed by the architect and city planner, actually, Pierre Lafont, and he put a Masonic infrastructure, if you like, for the plan of Washington, D.C. But I think this hill is like the seven hills of Rome, and this place was called Rome, and the buildings look like Rome, and they got the Senate and everything else the same. Are we looking at Rome? There is not many people around, and they are like tiny dots. Let's have a look at it in the 1880s, all completed. So yeah, the city planner, the Frenchman Pierre Lafont, he was Freemason, done the Masonic layout for the monuments, but he stated that on top of Capitol Hill, it was a pedestal waiting for a monument. So under here, he said that there was a pedestal, a bit like Baalbek or something, a pedestal waiting for a monument. Not that there was a monument there already itself, which I think that there was. Underneath all of this is a damn sight deeper, as you're going to see. It is. This is a beautiful little image here. The dome's completed. And here is a statue of Lincoln Memorial in Washington, District of Columbia. And you can see some founding fathers there doing some Masonic doings. Isn't it funny that, the origins of the experiment of democracy in America, now a couple hundred years old, is all Masonically led. And you can see George Washington looking down at his fasces. He has a fasces next to him, most important implement, weapon in reality. Now, outside of, you can see that this stuff looks dirty. It looks, the Corinthian tops here look a bit weathered and grey, and I'm guessing this could be just soot from maybe industry. I don't know. There's not much in the way of pollution, I can't imagine. But outside the building itself, zero infrastructure. You don't see any infrastructure. Still a couple of ladders, but the thing is a Greco-Romano colossus. Just amazing size. So yeah, the same weird story can be repeated for like most of these courthouses or these civic buildings, or definitely state buildings all over America. So they were built in an earlier time, and then a terrible fire happened, and then they rebuilt it again, because that's the narrative for Texas state capitol building that I witnessed, which we'll have a look at shortly, in Austin. They keep, same narrative for the White House and the Capitol building. So yeah, it's completed year. Check out the size of that dome. Colossus. Now, I think that it's a bit ostentatious for a fledgling nation. I may be wrong, but it just seems just too massive. I'm not sure if these are stones or bodies here. Ooh. But yeah, check out the transport of the day is just a horse and cart. So you can just presume they brought all that stone or horse and cart. There is a picture to build some of this, Congress and some of these outer buildings, sure, which will come along a bit later, they say. Okay, so the proportions are off, if you ask me. I'm not an expert, but I think the proportions are off, especially when you look at how grandiose it is, but more the precise nature of these colonnades as well, and getting them up in the air for the tooling that we know of the age. Maybe they had steam power, steam cutting in the quarries. I can see some evidence of that in other places, but really, this is really over the top for such a fledgling nation. As I'm saying, now beneath the Capitol building, that's when it gets interesting. Rumors range from huge sealed chambers that no one's allowed into, miles and miles of corridors leading all over the country, if you like. Underground railway system under the Capitol building, nuclear bunkers, command centers, barracks, you name it, it's all under there. But there are rumors of ancient Masonic temples and Knights Templar relics under the Capitol building. There's also rumors of Obsidian tablets holding information and harmonic vaults, that predate the Constitution, have all been reported and talked about under the Capitol building. You can see Washington, D.C. Apparently, this is the opening of the Lincoln Memorial, which is a lot bigger than I actually thought it was. I haven't seen it with my own eyes, but you can see the residents, the Washingtonians, that's what they're called, out in their muddy field. And going to go in and have a look at Abraham Lincoln and maybe other presidents. I think Jefferson's in there, another one as well. Sitting in a chair with two fasces in either side of the chair. Also, the same narrative we're going to look at as well for the White House. Burnt down, the English did it in the war, 1814, and then it rained, and then it outed the fire, and then basically they built it back. So this is an important image. It is one of the only images that you can find online, actually, of the original Capitol building. This is dated 1846. 1846. Now, the Capitol building was started in 1798. And this little effort here, they didn't start until, excuse me. Ooh. 1829. So the 1820s, they start getting this back up and running after it's been a burnt out shell. But you can see these would have been copper color. I don't think they're looking green, but this is a colorized image. I've got the glass plate image to show you in a minute. So that is apparently, and it does look like these bits. If you just look at these domes, these round windows here, we'll place them with the current, oh, excuse me, the current Capitol building. Excuse me. Okay, well, we'll do it in a minute. We'll do that in a minute. Anyway, so yeah, if you look at the Lincoln Memorial here, you can see that it's just out in the middle of a swamp because they built it all on a swamp. Because they didn't care about the swamp, because they cared about the node, the ley line crossing point. They knew that whatever they did on that hill, and they put their intent into it on that hill, that it would be projected and amplified throughout the entire realm. This is why this seat of government is so important. It's because it's on Capitol Hill and because of what is inside of Capitol Hill, guys. So yeah, we're going to look at some of the Capitol's alignments and maps in a moment. You can see here the Republicans and the Democrats having a little snow fight out in the forecourt of the Capitol building. Now, they are two wings of the same bird, is what they are. A really old business model. There you can see the dome almost finished in the 1860s. That would be probably about 1863 there. The Civil War still raging. You've got outside, you've got a pig farm. You've got a huge mosque-like building here, which looks really, really old. But the infrastructure for Washington itself is flimsy. They have no roads as such. The trees are new. Just dirt sidewalks. But you do see some fine architecture at this point, the 1860s. In Washington, D.C., the Democratic capital or Republican capital or whatever, whoever's in at the moment. So this lake here is, I think it's an older structure. Now you see this same lake with the obelisk, which is in this case the Washington Memorial, all aligned in Nineveh or even Babylon, or old maps of St. Peter's Basilica has the same arrangement, and even Fort Wood with Statue of Liberty looks like a weapon, looks like the same circuitry that I'm going to show you on the maps. I think these walls that contain this lake, because the lake is so overgrown and ancient and has no work done on it yet, I don't think this is them building it. I think the lake was already there. The lake was already there. This is an older world, okay? And it becomes part of the alignment. So here is the dome. Now the rest, I think, is safe to presume that the rest here is all original old world. These toroidals, they're all going to be lifted on crane up to the dome, which took a few years to complete. Nice little shot. Caught that one day. And they're the wings of hundreds of rooms. You can believe the size. So yeah, I find it fascinating. Don't get too much evidence of stone in huge bales. So I'm guessing that the bales come in off horse and cart back, and then they dump them, and then the crane lifts them and put them in place. This place here. So yeah, so it is very possible, because in nearly every photo that I ever show, the building is actually there and could have been damaged by an apocalypse, same as you see for Paris 1871 or Berlin 1945, is, you know, just empty shells of buildings. But these bits, I think they did, you know, add to them in the 1880s. Also, there's the Washington Memorial. Now, I showed you, you know, it's basically a temple, isn't it? Temple of Apollo. But I showed you that it was in a field, and apparently this is the building of it, and it's a higher level, a much higher level. And there it is, but again, on completion. It's there, it's up. It's not like from the 14s. It's just there. Voila. Like with all of antiquity. I noticed the White House here should have been called the Grey House. Look how dirty it is in this image. Very, very dirty in this image. You can see the amount of iron that went into the structure of the domes is just fascinating. 900,000 pounds in weight, almost £1 million in weight. So yeah, it was probably a replacement dome, though, hiding the original, original harmonic receiver that was in the copper dome, the ancient energy grid one. I think it's just, I don't think they upgraded it. I think they downgraded it. But I definitely think they wanted this seat of power because of the position of where they put these temples, and on top of that important ley line, nodal point, so they can amplify and rule the world from it. The Vatican do exactly the same from their node. The Ottomans, they do it from their node in Mecca, don't they? They just walk round and round because it's important. And they rule their little thing going on, their world. There's a lady up there. A lady. A buxom lady. So yeah, that's trippy. I don't know what that is. Maybe as a child. Apparently, one of these, I think it might be him there. One of them is apparently Booth, the actor, who apparently is going to kill Lincoln. This is the second inauguration, though, of President Lincoln. And there's all reeds up on the railings. Looks like they've grown there a long time ago. The White House. And here is a load of actors dressed in costume to pretend that any of this reality is real when there's nothing actually out there. But it's really good to look at. There's the people of America, look. All the different tribes. What a trippy thing. So there it is. Just stuffed with metal. Stuffed with iron. It's a nice little shot going up the Capitol Hill. Huge building. You have no idea of how big this thing is. You see it in some movies like Babylon Has Fallen, or whatever that film is with Gerard Butler. There's also a computer game I used to play as well when you used to go under the Capitol. I can't remember what game it was. But you can see there, 1800s, nothing but swamp and fields and crap in the middle of this area of Washington. But they don't care because that building, it's got to go on the top of that hill. Maybe there's 7 hills there, just like the 7 hills of Rome. Just like I said, because it's Rome. And there's that giant church there in the modern day, and there is there as well that we just looked at. But they aligned it, so we have a really interesting couple of pictures coming up. These of some of the refurbishments that they had in the past. They had one under the administration of President Carter and one under the administration of President Ronald Reagan. And what you can see here is the copper dome itself. It looks a bit, I don't know, oxidized, I would say. They're painting it with iron oxide to preserve the metal. So they're doing iron oxide, same as you're doing to ships when you're at sea. And you can see the original rotunda buildings there, look, from the first White House. But you can see red brick. You can see the existence of red brick here behind the facade. And what else as well is this is the level of this car park. Now watch what happens then is they dug everything out. Now what I can't understand is it just goes infinitely low, and you see these columns here, but they didn't like build this concrete cofferdam to hold up the Capitol building. This thing here, it was there already. Look at this. These concrete, the stone thing are lying on this, which has been discolored because it's been in the earth. Because this here is road level, and these openings here and all of this walling is just craziness. And there's all stuff falling out as well. So all of that is below, and I think it goes deeper than that as well. Check that out. So yeah, they took it all out because there's literally everything under the Capitol building that you can imagine. You can see tunnel systems here, look. You can see just openings there, where they have tube trains going in under the Capitol building, and a whole load of secret stuff as well. you know, like the war room, like they had in the film War Games, or apparently under this place. And nuclear bunkers and places for armies to stay and you name it. Let's just have a look at the little history here of the Capitol building. So 1865, Abraham Lincoln's second inauguration. Well, he had 2 terms, did he? Obviously. So, and General Lee had a nice little mud-flood temple going on. Look, General Lee's house. Got a little mud-flood window there. Ah, good old General Lee. Warning, warning. Mandala affected picture coming up. See this Tartarian building out in this daisy field? It says in the caption, Smithsonian Institute in a field of daisies. Uh-oh, because in this reality and timeline, it was apparently the Smithsonian Institution, and it's never been the Institute, but the person who put that on this picture thought the same as the rest of us, that it was the Smithsonian Institute, which is never have been, by the way. Curiouser and curiouser, said Alice. So the British sacked the capital on August the 24th, 1814, okay, during a controlled war of 1812, or a continued war of 1812, excuse me. Middle hadn't yet been built. Smoke burn windows. Middle hadn't yet been built is a bold statement, isn't it? I wouldn't say that was the case at all. Okay, more like something. It reminds me of like that little gap you see on the Pentagon after that thing hit it one day. It looks like that gap. It actually looks just like the Pentagon picture. Okay, so in 1826 goes up the Bullfinch Dome on top of the derelict, burnt out ruin that is the Capitol building. And then Thomas U. Walter designed a cast iron dome, 1855. There is plenty of plans online. I've got them myself. New dome half complete there by 1861. But they get it completed almost in time for his death. Not really. 1857. It's just coming along, isn't it? And that's a beautiful photograph there of 1865. All war over. No more killing. No more big Napoleonic style battles. Okay. And this is really interesting. It's got half the dome completed here. 1811 wing, 1793 wing, and 1860 the Senate building was built, and this house here 1860 as well. 1860. But look at the size of this installation. So we've got a subway terminal, underground station. Yes, it looks like a circuit board. All of it does, especially the maps when we get to them later. Underground subway terminal, sub basement, but this thing is going infinitely low, guys. So yeah, hundreds and hundreds of rooms. Mezzanine, house wing, and the Senate is over on that side there. So yeah, absolutely incredible history, incredible building, and look at all that below it. Just, you know, they didn't come along with screeds, load of plasterers, guys, and just plaster all this up after. That's not what's happened. This is like, obviously this was underground when the thing was on top, obviously. So yeah, these Capitol buildings, they're repeated all over the world. Even the Capitol building in Cardiff is a lesser version of what you see in any other Capitol building. It's just a smaller dome. It's called Cardiff Villa, but it looks the same. And it looks the same as St. Paul's Cathedral. The dome is identical, really, just a little different configuration on the columns, but the same dome on St. Paul's, and the same bells as well. So these are other Capitol buildings, which are just the same style all over the world. All over the world. There's some original 1860s pictures of the completion of the dome. And this is the Oval Office. And, oh, excuse me, if you check over the Oval Office door, you can see there's a fasces. See that? Again, with the fasces, showing you the power, the true power. And the maritime feel with the ships, the shells over the bookcases, the anchor, you know, the little ship. I do appreciate the plateau. It's on the Potomac, but this is a maritime room and a maritime with the ships because it's the Phoenicians. Anyway, let's move on. So let's have a look at some maps. Now, this is a mind blow, I think, because it looks like a circuitry, which it really, really does. So it's no accident that Pierre L'Enfant done the design of Masonic layout for Washington, D.C. Now, if you just picture this, guys, right, on a more ancient layout, which I'll show you plans for in a minute, ley lines across in these points. Can you see these? When they put these roads on ley lines, okay, and then Masonic compass as well, set I guess in 23.4 or around there, which it would be. And if you can see the Capitol Hill, whatever's under there, massive ancient structure, yeah, harmonics coming up, and then it's just all that intent made in there, all them rules and all of that power just get burst like a gun, if you like, amplified chi energy into this circuitry. Even the water, which is a bit like circuit, a bit like star forts, yeah, but you can see it's in the shape of a cross, and this bit here as well is all part of this circuitry. That's why it looks like a circuit, because that's exactly what's going on, amplifying all that energy in government to control the minds of everybody in America, if not the world. So it's obviously as well, you know, with the Masonic connection with Washington, D.C., a satanic connection, because they put a pentagram all over the imagery. So here is an overlay. There's the famous triangle, which all of the buildings that are important, the triple TU, which is in this area here. So you got the Masonic set squares and compass directly in front of the Capitol, down to the Jefferson Memorial, the Washington Memorial, the White House, okay, which is quite a way away from Capitol building. And then you've got this pentagram configuration taking you up to Supreme Council, Temple, 33 degree. Everything aligns because it's all put on ley lines, and it's all a control mechanism. The pentagram. And they also have an underground railway system under the Capitol Hill. But I'm sorry I can't float this picture up bigger. Let's just have a look. There's all of this stuff under the Capitol building. You could literally drive lorries underneath it. Look at it all. Underneath it. And these beautiful little trains that they have, and there's miles and miles of tunnel system. There are documentaries that give you all of the command centers and bunkers and everything that goes on under there, but they don't tell you about the closed chambers and the miles and miles of ancient tunnels and gadgetry and possibly, you know, ancient temples and ancient technologies that are happening under the Capitol building. It's a big secret they don't want you to know, but it is happening. And that is why they're there. And that is why the Capitol building is on that hill. This abnormal, unnatural looking hill. All of that is underground. This is an AI image, but it gives you an idea of the stuff and the complexity that's going on under the Capitol. So yeah, the president, he can nip out for a burger without actually stepping across the grass. What he does is he goes through a tunnel, he comes up in a Big Mac, he stuffs his face, and runs back off to the Oval Office to make some more stuff up again and get everyone to believe. So is the nature of government. Govern your mind, tell you what to think. So is the nature of Bullshit. Anyway, this is an old map of 1700s Washington, D.C. on the Potomac. Really, really unbelievable. It gives you, it gives you Waymax, and it gives you the contour or the height of the hills. I wonder if there are 7 hills. But these grid patterns are already there because, they did this apparently with all of them in America. Just put the grids up before the city arrived. Nay, I think that the city was already there. And what you see is these other lines converging. And these converging points are where they put important monuments. And there's also, I noticed, the rivers here, the 2 rivers split off. I find that interesting, to the Potomac. So yeah, let's just have a look if we can pick up anything on that engraving there. This is a really old map. It does give you the elevations as well. All these lines colored red are finished, and those colored, okay, right. Okay, that makes sense. The yellow bit here. Okay, so there's places in the yellow have been built up. Okay, so somebody to get these ley lines would have to walk over there with possibly a divining rod, which could pick up, no problem, ley lines. So let's just have a last little look at Washington. We'll look at the White House, where Prezzies live. This is image 66. Weird, it should have been 666. Oh, come on. I'm sure it's all wholesome. So it looks a bit like Candyland, doesn't it? It looks like a cotton plantation place, doesn't it? But nice little fountain. I wonder what is powering that fountain, where the water pump is, etc. If it's old world technology for Rome. So yeah, exactly the same narrative, I'm afraid. Yep, it burnt down. The English did it again. They didn't say the Welsh, did they? I didn't hear them say anything about the Welsh, did they? No. I didn't see your John Levine going, the Welsh are coming, did he? What did he say? I'm not copping out or anything. I might have been there, but I'm just saying, mate. That wasn't us. Anyway, not that it was real, any of it. So there it is. After it burnt the White House, there's a wire loose on the top. You can see the wire come out. Don't worry, plug it back in later. So yeah, strange plantation outside as well. Sure they weren't growing coffee or cotton that far north. No, I don't think so. So yeah, as you can see clearly, mud flood windows. We get some closer looks at these mud flood windows. So yeah, the White House there, nice little picture in the Victorian era. And then when they did some work on it in the days of Ronnie, tops of mud flood windows, yeah. All of these would have been below ground level. This is the road level. So yeah, the White House is an old world mud flooded building. Oh, that's a better image. Look, so there's the road you would have drove in. This is ground level. So even these are below ground level, and these windows here were below ground level, partially obscured, and it's all been dug out, and it goes infinitely lower to all these walls under the Capitol building. Check them out, guys. Under the Capitol building. Imagine what's under there we don't know about. Gosh, just for the imagination, this is great. And as you can see, there it is with the fountain, looking very, very nice indeed in the modern day. A fine place for El Presidente to reside. So you can see that that's also on a hill. And I bet that is another important hill. There's just so many cities with these hills, like Bunker Hill, removed in Boston, had a monument on top, and the mounds of Mound City of St. Louis, and and the mounds that are removed in Kansas City, you know. These are all world monuments. I'm convinced of it. And look at this. Is that an American flag? Could be a Virginian map, but it doesn't look American to me. But I would like to time travel, sit on that grass on that lovely spring day and have a little nose of what is going on. So yeah, under the White House, check out the windows, and it all goes infinitely deep as well. There's loads going on down there. Loads going on down there. So what they were building? I don't know. Bunkers? Stuff? So it's a nice big building. It's an all-world mud flooded. This is one of the early photographs. You can see they had security on the roof even then. There's two people there, one there. Probably bodyguards for the Presidente. So one of the earliest photographs of the White House, 1846. So that is decidedly early for the White House. And there is one of America's most famous assets, Pablo Escobar. He's taken his son to go and play with basically Jimmy Carter's son. They're close friends, and he's going to hang out with him, play some music, smoke a couple of doobies, and talk about business. Business is good. Business is good, El Presidente. So I like your style. Probably. Anyway, this is another Capitol building, which I have witnessed with my own eyes in Austin, Texas. The Capitol building for Texas is in Austin, and as you can see, they built a very large dome. And believe you me, this building is massive. I was going to go in there, but they had all like security, like airport security. So the Lone Star State, they look like a load of honest working men, and they look like middle-class people. They don't look elite at all. There's no high table fuckers here, I can see. Oh, he's a big one. So this is the statue that they've got to go on top of the dome, right? For the Lone Star State, beautiful Texas, like it's the most beautiful state going, right? It's got beautiful stuff going on. So why does this statue look like Parker, the butler for Lady Penelope? It's like, I know, no offense, but her looks got a lot to be desired, guys. Oof. Shocking is the word for that statue. So yeah, that's going up on the roof. So I think, you know, they say that this was an earlier building that got burnt down, same time period as Washington, weirdly. Such a far away place. So here is prisoners, and as you can see, they look like they got some steam power above at the quarry, and they are getting some stone ready. It's been lifted by that crane. It's been taken off to build the dome of the Texas State building. No, I'm just thinking, you know, the prison system in Texas is just unreal. Look at all of these people. They're just probably going to be working like Cool Hand Luke, shaking that bush for the rest of their existence, or a lot of it. Wow. So yeah, what we got here is a Masonic do. I shit you not. Now, if the cornerstone is in there or the foundation stone, I couldn't tell you. They do a strange ritual with that, though, with shadow stealing. I've talked about it before. Look into it. It's really strange little ritual they do with laying foundation stones. So I know that they're Freemasons because they all are wearing aprons. Can you see? Aprons. He looks a bit Jewish, but I doubt it in Texas. So an apron, an apron, an apron, an apron. They are all in their regalia. Apron, apron. These are all Freemasons, guys. Like, most of them are Freemasons. Okay. So it's just like there, isn't it? It's not, you know, it's not from the bottom up. It's just the building is there and the roof is just missing, isn't it? It's there again, out of its cindery mess, and it's rebuilt, and then it's this again. And they've gone and built this big thing, okay, if they did. in somebody's backyard. This is somebody's backyard, isn't it? Yes. So you could postulate that the building was already there and damaged, a bit like their buildings in Paris in 1871, a bit like the buildings in Berlin in 1945, for an example. Shells of big buildings that need the roof put on and the guts put back in, like this. Because that is one solid structure and big. I mean, this thing is really big. It looks like it's got mud flood attributations. I'm guessing their windows are just boarded up. It's a dome. And this is going to be full of steel and metal, this huge dome that it has. Again, the building is there, isn't it? So, and there is that dome, which looks like antiquitech. There's like windows in here. Whole thing looks really old. And you've got like the portal arched Babylonian tower affair. And all of this metal to gather energy gathering stuff, I guess, and this is antiquitech. Otherwise, why would it all be like that, and why would it be needed? It looks like a Faraday cage. It looks like a radar dome. It looks like a radar array. Along those, like it does deal with electromagnetic things. Anyway, on with the show. This is interesting. This is the boundary markers. So you have Neolithic stones in America, which harness power and uses boundaries like we have in Britain and Europe, apparently. So the boundary markers of the original District of Columbia, there are 40 milestones, guys, and they marked the 4 lines forming the boundaries between the states of Maryland and Virginia. It's 100 square miles of federal territory, yeah, which became DC, the District of Columbia, in 1801, which is when it was founded. These markers were apparently laid down in 1791 to 1792, and these people here have been attributed to it. Check them out. They're dated, whether or not they're dated later than their earlier stones, but these are Neolithic-looking British standing stones. We have mile markers here, but ours are ancient, some of them Roman, guys. So that is the original boundary, and look what it's called. Jones Point Lighthouse of Alexandria. So the Lighthouse of Alexandria is in Virginia, and there is Alexandria in Virginia. That one's missing. Let's have a look what else we got here. Cambridge. Blairley, some obscure names here. Brentwood Road, that sounds very British. Walker Road, even more. We got one of them here. And Fox's Ferry in the Potomac. Okay, so yeah, these were the boundary, and inside there's 100 miles of territory, which is marked out by them stones, which I find really incredible, and they're protected in such a nature as well. So that is in Alexandria in Virginia. How old this stuff is. Oh yeah, 1700s apparently, Maryland one. Yeah, you can't date this though. Can't date it. You just chiseled this in 1792 for sure. Like the stone was there hundreds of years before. It's just like ancient Celtic stuff that we get in Cardiff. Got standing stone here. Although it's not just this has been dressed obviously and tidied up, but it really does look at part of the ancient world. Having said that, that one hasn't. Wow. Located in the sea wall. All right. Wow. It's been battered by the sea. That one's got a cage around it. District of Columbia marker. So if you have learned something here today, I hope you have, and I hope you've enjoyed my video. I do think that this Capital building businesses, evidence for an older world. I think these fires, these clear fires and eradications of them, and then they're rebuilt, is definitely the erasing of Tartarian technology. And I think these buildings are put on those specific purposes for controlling the world, the realm, with mind. Government, to govern the mind, is what they're doing. I put up a psychic blocker. Can't be. I'm unbrainwashable. I found it's like it won't take. It's really annoying to them. Everyone else is hypnotized. I don't know what's happened to everybody. I don't know what's happened in the last 2 years. That's just gone from crazy to crazy. I don't know what to say. No comment. I know you all know what I'm saying and what I'm on about. Don't know how the world will repair and get beyond this to a state of some sort of sanity and normality. Would be absolutely awesome. Don't know how that's going to even happen, but there you go. I set my intent for it all to work out happily. There. So yeah, really interesting. You have them in America, guys, as boundaries for the District of Columbia, and they're all protected in these little mortar cages, and they look super duper ancient. It's like 1700s, that one. Fucking hell, guys. Seen better days, hasn't it? 1792 for that one. And some of them are just buried, really old looking. So yeah, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be back on the weekend. I've been off for a little while. I've had the flu, but I'm back and thinking, and I'm back to juicing. So make sure to subscribe, as I said. And this adventure, the Flat Earth Social in Bournemouth, you can find in the descriptions below this video, will be this Tuesday coming. Okay, 4 days time, Tuesday coming. And we're all having a get together, the Flat Earthers. It should be pretty fantastic. Hope I can see you there, or some of you. So make sure to subscribe, like I said. I will be back very, very soon. Love you all.